Welcome everybody to Growing Up in the RGV. On today's episode, we're going to discuss something that's somewhat of a taboo topic because society has deemed this to be something that we don't really talk about. Today's episode's topic is going to be miscarriages. Um, for this episode, we will not be promoting any small businesses because we want to pay the respects at the end of the podcast for the babies that we will be talking about. Ruth?
Awesome. Also, while this is going on, there's a trigger warning out there if you guys feel that it's too much or, whatever it is that we're going to talk about today is too much for you guys. By all means, pause the video, feel free to step away, reach out to anybody. You can reach out to any of us. We're here for you guys. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing, to create that safe space. And for today's episode, we do have two guests who are going to be sharing their experiences on top of also Maida, who is part of the podcast. And again, everything that we do say or what we're going to be talking about is something that we've all experienced ourselves, except for me, right? I've clearly not gone through anything like this, but it's a very eye-opening kind of experience on my own end to actually realize the effects of what a miscarriage can cause, to women out there that, again, it's not really something that is talked about. So let's go ahead and start with the questions. So I guess we'll start with Vicky. Or Vicky, you want to give yourself or tell a little bit about yourself before we start?
I'm Vicky. I'm 30 years old. I've had 3 miscarriages. 2, my very first one was very traumatic. It was at 10 weeks. I went in there to the doctor's office thinking that I was going to hear the heartbeat and to find no baby. Very traumatic. The father, which was my ex, was working out of town, so it was very hard to get a hold of him. So it was kind of having to lean on someone who wasn't in it with me was really hard. The other 2, I guess I kind of expected it after the first one, but still very hard to deal with.
Right. No, I can't even imagine. And then we also have Stefania that is joining us. And you want to say a little bit about yourself today?
Sure. Hi, my name is Stefania Goldoy. I'm 29 years old. I'm a registered dental assistant. I have a beautiful daughter. She's going to be 6 next month. I'm going on 7 years being married to a wonderful husband that's been very supportive all along. And same thing, we lost our baby girl back in 2017. It's going to be already almost 4 years. It was something unexpected, something that happened, as well as, we have our soon to be 6-year-old, but she was premature. She was unexpected as well. So since she was a micro preemie, weighing only 1 pound, 5.8 ounces, when we decided to, it was a very hard experience. She was in the NICU 3 months. She came out at 4 pounds, 11 ounces. She's very healthy, thank God. When we decided to get pregnant again, we were kind of like, it was something that we were. Is it okay if I talk Spanish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
No, o sea, como que ya nos esperábamos, o sea, más o menos, ya íbamos preparándonos, because it wasn't, it happened with our first, we didn't know it was going to, how it was going to go with our second pregnancy. So as far as our second pregnancy, what happened was that I was 6 months pregnant, same as the first one. I had my regular, routine checkup with I was seeing the specialist from Driscoll. And when I went into that office, I remember clearly it was on a Tuesday. I went in and, the sonographer, she's the one that, checks everything. And I was kind of telling her, what I had been feeling and what, everything. And I guess for them, they're not supposed to tell you, as far as. So when the doctor went in, he goes in and he just tells me, you know what, like, Ms. Goldoy, there's no heartbeat. And that was just heartbreaking. Like, it was just something that I can still remember, that last image, as far as when they were doing the sonogram. And that's something that's been with me all this time. Being 6 months pregnant, and then for them to tell me that I'm no longer, that my baby's no longer alive, and still having to go home and go to sleep with my baby inside, was just something I just couldn't, bear. And it's something that hasta ahorita, like, it's very hard. It's very hard for me.
It's okay. I mean, not that it's okay that it happened, but it's okay to get emotional about things like that. Like, especially something that you had to go home and then still have to carry your baby, I've never been through anything like that. I always told myself that I wouldn't have kids, but I mean, I have my own reasons, right? And just the thought of that, you guys are the bravest people that I know, to have lost that. I have 2 kids of my own currently, through my partner, and I didn't birth them, but if anything was to happen to them now, I wouldn't even know, what to do. So you guys, this is amazing. Thank you all. If I haven't already said thank you for wanting to go ahead and put y'all's feelings out there and, let people know about this, that needs to be more talked about, Marta, you want to give a little bit about your story? Or
Yeah. This is the first time that I vocally talk about it. I have made posts on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, but it's the first time I say it. And I'm gonna cry, of course, but my miscarriage happened in May of 2019. And it has been the biggest heartbreak that I have experienced in my whole life. And I've been through some crazy stuff, but losing my baby has been the most painful thing that I've ever experienced. And I told Stefania, I don't know how you got through that, because my baby was 8 weeks and I already loved that baby so much, and I had plans, and we had a name, we had everything, and then I don't know where there was just no more baby. For me, I started spotting one day, and I called the nurse line, and they were like, it's normal for you to spot, it's normal spotting. But like you, Stefania, I had a horrible first pregnancy, horrible. My son was in the NICU for a month. So I kind of, it's like you said, I expected the worst, but not like this. Like, I expected something to go wrong, because something has to go wrong. And half of me was like, maybe this pregnancy is going to be so smooth, because my previous pregnancy was so hard, but it turned out to be the worst. I remember that night when I started spotting, I told my husband, like I need to be alone. I have to be alone. And I slept downstairs, I slept on the couch, and I talked to my baby, and I was like, if you need to leave, if you need to go, if you're suffering or anything, just go. It's okay. It's okay. I love you, and I'm going to remember you, and I'm going to always be here. But go. And In the morning when I woke up, it was not a spotting anymore. It was just, it was worse. And I never got to see an ultrasound of my baby. I never got to hold my baby. I never got to see my baby. And yeah, it's been pretty hard. I don't know how so many women are going through this pain by themselves. And some people don't even have the support that I was lucky enough to have from my husband. And yeah, I'm just so glad that this is something that we're gonna talk about, and that hopefully more women can connect and know that they're not by themselves.
Definitely. That is what our end goal is, that essentially to let people out there that it's not something that you guys have to go through it alone. Vicky is my sister-in-law. She's come to me a couple times about what happened, and as you all know, the type of person I am, always trying to throw in something to make people laugh, or this or that, because that's, I guess, essentially how I can deal with emotions, is to say something stupid to make you laugh, and then I'm hoping at that point that you're gonna feel somewhat better. With this, I wouldn't even know what or how you could possibly make someone feel any better.
I don't think that there's ever going to be something that anybody in the world, not our husbands, nobody in the
Right.
world, there is nothing in the world. And I think it's important for people to understand that too, because a lot of the times people are intimidated by the topic, and they're so scared of saying the wrong thing
Yeah.
to you that they just shut it out and don't talk about it at all. When in reality, it's like, no, like I need to talk about it. I don't want to, but I know I need to, because it's gonna end up like killing me inside. But
Right.
it's okay to not have the right thing to say, or I remember the first time when I started talking to somebody else about it, and it was my friend Mariel, who was on the podcast last time. And you know what she asked me? She said, "What was your baby's name?" And I was like, holy crap, like nobody has ever asked me, what's the name of your baby? And that's why, Stefania, the first thing that I asked you was like, what's the name of your baby? Like, I want to like put a name to this little person, because it doesn't matter how small, that was your baby. That was your baby, So
Right.
that was the first time that I actually got to talk about it and express myself a little bit, because, unfortunately, Mariel and her spouse went through something as well. And it was that connection of, how horrible it feels. And it's such a
Right.
horrible connection that links us. And it's crazy to me.
Right. So what I'm gonna go ahead and go through now, guys, is I'm gonna start asking you guys just a couple questions. Again, it's a sensitive topic, so if it's a little hard for y'all to answer or anything like that, by all means, just let us know. Or if you don't really feel comfortable enough to talk about it or answer, by all means, you can choose not to. So one of the first question that I do want to ask is, Vicky, you've had 3 miscarriages. There can't necessarily be one of the hardest things about your miscarriages in general, but what do you feel maybe has been the hardest thing going through that? The 3
Really,
that you've had.
going through it alone, because even if you have someone who's been in that situation, even if they say, I know how you feel, they don't. Because like, I don't know how to word it without sounding mean or whatever, but their pain is their pain, and then your pain is your pain. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, I know you understand where I'm coming from, but it's like I'm feeling this, and I've always hoarded my feelings to myself, where I'm gonna go through it by myself in my room. I'm gonna cry it out by myself, and I'm gonna come out smiling, and it's gonna be that. So I think just doing it by myself, and then because I had my ex out of town and not him being there with me, was just like, it was just a really bad experience for me. All 3 times was it really bad because I did it by myself. It was waking up spotty and calling the doctor's office. I know my sister was there, but it was never really the comfort that I needed. And I don't think that anybody could give me that comfort. I think it was just something that I had to go through. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, you know, the other people who are on here, like, I mean, does that make sense to you guys? Absolutely. Where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and then, you know, there could be, which there has been just last weekend, like there could be a day where the grief is just hitting you so hard that like it literally like drops me to my knees, and I'm like I can't function today, like I can't. And I'm like, again, I'm so lucky that I have my husband, because he'll be like, hey, he'll grab my son and take him. But there's days where that grief is just so strong. And to think, you know, for you, Vicky, like anybody's pain is horrible, but for 3 babies, like I'm terrified to even get pregnant again. Terrified. I'm so scared, because I'm like, my heart cannot take this again. Like I can't. So now I'm scared that I'm gonna miss out on being a mom to another baby, because I can't put myself through this again. And yeah, it totally makes sense.
So, okay, I'm single, right? So it's kind of like, you know, when you're talking to someone, you know, and they talk about, I have this and this, and I have a daughter, right? She's 10 years old. I feel like I live vicariously through my friends, because they all have babies, and when they come over, I get a love on them, and it's so much fun, and I love it. And I'm goofy as heck, like as Ruth, the goofiest person ever. All kids love me. They love me because I'm so goofy with them. So when I'm talking to a guy, you know, or like, you know, getting to know them to see, okay, where is this going? And they're like, well, do you want more kids? And it's kind of like, I don't bring it up. I'm done. I'm fine with my 10-year-old. And, you know, if you have kids, great. You know, if it goes to something more, great. But like, even having them bring that subject up, like, hurts my heart.
Yeah.
So I understand where that, like, even being scared to get pregnant, it just, babies hurt my soul to be brought up. Yeah.
Yeah. And also,
Stefania, what do you feel? Oh, sorry.
Whenever people bring up like baby showers and baby announcements, and it's like, it's been easier for me now because of COVID, and you know, you don't have to go. Like you could just send a present, but like it's hard because I want to be happy for you. But I also know, you know, like when I was having my miscarriage, 2 days before that, I was planning one of my good friends' baby shower. So we were getting everything together. I had my miscarriage, and then the next weekend was her baby shower. And I still went and I still set everything up for her. And I was still bleeding. And I was there setting up her baby shower because I needed to be there for my friend. And for some reason, I had to do this, and I had to be okay, because that's what we're taught. Like, okay, you're going to be fine. Just like, let's go. You're going to be okay. And it was hard. It was so hard to sit there and see all the baby stuff, and to pick up onesies and staple them onto the wall. And I don't think that that's something that like I ever stopped to think about. Like, you're having a miscarriage right now, and you're here setting up for a baby shower.
Yeah. I think a lot, the hardness of it comes, the aftermath. To me, that was the worst. The, you know, cringing every time you had to go to the restroom, because when you wipe, it's blood. And that was sipping, like that's what it was. It was your baby your body throwing the baby out. to me, I think the aftermath of it, the pain of it, the physical pain, the emotional pain, the, physically seen, when you go to the restroom and you're wiping and it's blood, like, I think how many times I broke down in the restroom by myself, I think really like killed me little by little, and I know only moms and only girls who've gone through that miscarriage knows that feeling. And I think every time you get your period, it's like a flashback, so it's kind of like a pain of getting a period.
And almost, because there was months where we tried and I was so scared, and I don't know if it was like my body subconsciously telling me like, no, don't do it, or like me tricking my mind somehow. But the moment that I would get my period, it was like my body is not good enough to make babies.
Yeah.
And it's that rejection of your own body because your body can't make it. And it's just it's such a sad feeling to have towards yourself. Stefania, what about you?
The hardest part was, like I mentioned before, have that that feeling of like, okay, well, what if it happens again? Like I said, my first one, she was a micropreemie. She came out like it was a random day. I just had sudden bleeding. I thought I had actually, I'm sorry to say it like this, I thought I had peed.
Yeah.
I was there in the parking lot. I was taken, to the hospital. I'm going back. With her, it was 911 never answered on the phone. We called them 3 times. My husband had to get from work. And
wow.
Thank God he was like down the street, like 3 minutes. He had to take me to the hospital. My baby's heartbeat was at one point not beating anymore. And that's why I had to get, she was an emergency. I had to get an emergency C-section with her. My second one was, like I said, the hardest thing was coming home that day after, my doctor's appointment, knowing that I still had her inside of me, already 6 months pregnant, with no heartbeat, having to sleep, because even the doctor said, you know what, you can wait until next Tuesday, a week from now. And we can, and in my head, I'm like, how are you telling me to wait a week, knowing that I have, a baby inside of me, a human being inside of me? I can't, no, there's no possible way. My OB-GYN, she told me the next day, you know what, if you're ready, come in. No one's ever ready for that. No one. I mean, I guess me, I wasn't ready. Like I guess I couldn't process it. And then having to deliver her, that, I mean, the hospital was trying to get for me to have another C-section. And they were like, well, why? Why? The baby's not under stress, she can just have a vaginal birth. I was able to, they had to induce me, of course, because I was only 6 months pregnant. And when I had her, I had her one day after my wedding anniversary. So wow. That was another thing, that was a hard thing. But I think the hardest, another hard part to all of this is la tuve a la niña, and then it's kind of like, I was just in shock. Like I couldn't, like I just couldn't, like, me la dieron, because they gave her to me, like, like a baby, like a newborn baby, wrapped and everything. And I was just there, like, holding her. I just couldn't. My husband was beside me, and I'm like, I guess, I don't know if it was just, I was just there holding her. He got to hold her. And I think it was until after, you know, because I was able to have her for a whole night with me in the room until the next day when the you know, for the funeral people that came took her. Then that's when I was able to, like, you know, break down and cry. It was just too much at the moment. Like, no, como que mi mente no quería procesar lo que estaba pasando en ese momento. And it was just like, you know, and up to now it's just hard. Like, it's hard because I have a 6-year-old, you know, that siempre me pregunta, mami, ¿cuándo vas a tener otro? ¿Cuándo? Yo quiero un bebé. Yo quiero no uno, quiero dos. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué no ahorita? And how do you tell a 6-year-old, you know, what's going on with you? And that, and then also, yeah, like when you see people, like, you know, you're happy when family, friends, relatives, you know, they're you know, they're pregnant, they're having baby showers, they're having gender reveals. You're happy for them, porque sí, obvio que uno se siente feliz ¿verdad? And what do you wish them? The best, ¿verdad? But then again, it's that feeling, like, you know, no es, I don't see it as como que envidia, no es eso, sino que simplemente el hecho de que, o sea, yo, you know, like me, like I didn't, you know, I never got to have, I haven't experienced what it is to have a baby shower. I've had, you know, I've been able to do gender reveals for both. I've had my second baby, her name, I named her, Myra knows her name. Y hasta ahorita, like, it's just hard. I mean, we were able to cremate her. We did her service. We cremated her. We have her here at the house. Pero every time we walk in the door, it's, you know, it's the first thing we see. The first thing we see. And it's just painful, like overall, every night. And I guess for us too, because it's one day after our wedding anniversary. So we don't celebrate, you know, I guess as como lo hacíamos antes, because it's like, okay, es como que básicamente el día de mi boda, o sea, aniversario de bodas, es cuando supe que ya mi niña ya no tenía vida, y al otro día la estaba yo teniendo. So it's just overall painful for me, for my husband, for my family. Gracias a Dios, o sea, en todo el proceso, tanto como de la primera y la segunda, like, tuve el apoyo de mi esposo principalmente, for my husband. I had my husband's support all the way. My parents too. Close friends, I guess, you know, co-workers, because they all found out through that. But I haven't, you know, this is like, como dijo Myra, this is the first time that I've actually, like, publicly, you know, spoken about this, because not everybody knows. Y si me pueden ver y me pueden, you can see me, you know, in pictures or, you know, anything. And, o sea, uno pone la mejor sonrisa que uno puede, you know. We try to be, you know, happy, you know, because life, you know, la vida sigue. And I mean, we have children, we have our families. Pero sí, then it comes to that point where it's like you're alone. And then that's when you, o sea, se vienen todos los sentimientos. And it's just horrible, like horrible.
That's
You know, like going to people who have baby showers and gender reveals, I'm so happy for them. Mm-hmm. And I'm ecstatic, and I wish them nothing but the best and happiness, but I choose not to be around because it's just going to break my own heart.
Yeah.
And I don't think that a lot of them understand that. Like, I think a lot of them kind of judge me on that, but it's kind of like, I can't genuinely, yes, I'm happy, but my heart can't take being there. And I don't think that a lot of people don't understand that, you know. I guess with me is that I've had 3. And so to me, in my head, it's just never going to happen for me. Like, I'm never going to be able to enjoy that kind of happiness. I know with my second one, I was like really depressed, and I'm like, nobody knows this, Ruth, not even you, that I thought about killing myself. Like, that's how sad I was. That's how depressed I was, that I was never going to be able to experience motherhood again. And I had postpartum with my first one, so I didn't enjoy her the way that like all happy moms do. So a lot of my guilt comes from that, and then now these miscarriages. So it makes me feel really down about myself. You know?
And I think that is true because, like, I mean, I'm like me. I mean, I know the doctors have told me, like, you know, you can have children. It's not that I can't. It's just that my body rejects them. Instead of seeing them as I guess, if I put it this way, something good, it sees it as something bad. So what is it trying to do? Push it out. You know, my body can only go up to like 6 months, which is what, 25, 26 weeks pregnant. Yeah. And there it's like, okay, you know what? The baby can no longer be inside of you. So yeah, so like, yeah, boy, like I said, I'm already going on 4 years. And my husband, he tells me like, Steph, like, do you want to have more children? I'm like, of course I want to have more children. Like, I want to. Yo quiero tener 2, 3, 4. But it's just that fear, that fear of having to go over all of that again. I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Y dos, o sea, y también te entra like, it's been so many, so much time que a veces también, o sea, yo con él digo, babe, like, what if we can't, or what if I just can't have any more children, or que si nunca me da la oportunidad, no tengo la oportunidad de embarazarme, o sea, because what's going to happen, o sea, me entra ese miedo también de que, like, él quiere tener más niños, he wants to have more children, of course, he tells me, no, like, don't think like that, like, vamos a salir adelante, like, we're going to find a way, primeramente Dios, like, something, cualquier cuidado que tengamos que tener, or whatever we have to do, like, it's, we'll do it. But it's, o sea, it's just fear overall, like, miedo, es miedo, es temor, es just everything, like, just sentimientos, it's a lot of things that go into my, my head. And I just don't want to go through it. But yes, I wish, y, le pido a Dios que algún día, like, yes, hopefully I can have a full-term pregnancy, that I get to see myself, 9 months pregnant, or más, o sea, sometimes it's a little bit over. Pero que sí pueda yo disfrutar sin el miedo, sin el temor, sin el what if, because yes, even up to now, like, there's times where I'm alone, or I'm yo sola, and it happened to me a lot when, with both of them. Siempre me decía yo, like, pero que sí, like, what if I would have done this? Or, what if this would have been done differently? When my daughter, my second pregnancy, when I stopped feeding her on a Friday, but no, on a Saturday. But I thought it was like, I was Googling it, and I'm like, why I wouldn't feel her move. But there's times that I think that babies, they kind of go into like a sleep mode. I think that's what I've read. And I was like, pues a lo mejor está durmiendo, like, se acomodó, está durmiendo. Like, that was me, my head, me, ignorant. I guess I can call myself now. And I was like, okay, Saturday, Sunday, come Monday, I tell the doctors, and I'm like, you know what, doctor, like, I don't feel my baby move, like, and I'm like, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, like, she's, nada más se acomodó, se mal acomodó, she's somewhere in there, like, she's, and then they even told me, they're like, Steph, what if you want, like, go to the doctor? And I'm like, no, it's okay, because I already have my appointment tomorrow, like, everything's gonna be fine, she's good, and I kept on, I felt like, como que cramps, like pushing, and I was like, well, se está moviendo, like, because I would feel those little, like, and I'm like, no, she's, she's moving, because I can feel like little, like, como unas empujaditas, like, down, like, going down. And then that's when I went to the doctor. You see, like, that moment when the doctor went in, and he told me, you know what, like, Ms. Godoy, you know, your baby, I'm so sorry, your baby no longer has a heartbeat. That just broke me down like that. And I was there by myself. I started, you know, as I do now, I started crying. I didn't know what to do. The sonographer started crying and she just said, sorry. She looked at me and she's like, I'm sorry. Because then again, they can't tell you anything. And me entró coraje a la vez. Like I was mad. I was like, I'm explaining to you all of this. Like I'm telling you what's going on. And you didn't say anything. Like you didn't even tell me. Like, and the doctor comes in and he tells me, and I just had to, I call my husband, y pobrecito, like again, a second time. So he comes rushing from his work and, you know, and I had to explain to him and we're both there crying, like los dos. And it's just, no, o sea, no, like it's.
Yeah, my experience was almost really similar to yours. I went by myself and my husband was at home that day, but I was like, this is something I need to do alone because I've just been used to being alone. And it's also the hardest thing that I've done is allowing my husband to be there for me. Because I told him, I'm like, something's wrong, like my body's not okay, like this is what's happening. He's like, let me take you to the doctor. I'm like, no, I need to go alone. This is something that I need to do and I need to be there and I need to do this by myself. And like, it's so stupid because like I needed him, you know, I needed him to be there for me. And I walked in and the same thing. They did the ultrasound and, you know, the guy, he was like not doing anything. He was like panicking and I'm like, is my baby okay? Is my baby okay? And all he could say was like, well, the levels look different. The levels are not as high. And I'm like, but is my baby okay? Like, are you going to do something to stop this bleeding? Like, just tell me, like, just tell me. And I was already losing it. I'm like, desesperada, like, just please tell me that my baby's going to be okay. And the doctor came in and that's when the doctor told me, you know, I'm so sorry, Miss Carrier, you're no longer pregnant. Your baby doesn't have a heartbeat. And I just remember texting my husband saying like, come, and thankfully he was already outside and he just walked in and we just broke down. And I think that was like the moment that changed our relationship forever because we felt this horrible pain and we were able to be there for each other. And, you know, Vicky, like, I feel for you because going through that in general and then going through that alone, I'm sending you hugs because I cannot imagine. Like, I can't imagine. But
like y'all have all been saying how it's been so hard, and clearly it's been or is definitely an impact when it comes to your mental and or even physical health. I mean, y'all have mentioned multiple times how, you know, Vicky, you were, you know, you thought of suicide. Like that's it's crazy to think that there's a lot of women out there, and I can't even imagine what maybe even our parents may have gone through, or anybody way back when, you know, that maybe didn't even have any idea what was going on and then just got blamed. And, you know, you get like put in a category, oh, well, she's not fit enough to be a mother because look, her body, you know, can't even make a baby. Like, and that's, I think, one of the most ignorant and stupid thing I think that's out there is that people actually think that way, you know? And I say we because, again, I've not been one to ever experience pregnancy or been in that situation. So I say we when I say this, but I think we really do not take into consideration how much this physically and mentally really does impact y'all. I'm like,
yeah, my mental health. Yeah, I think. I mean, I've always dealt with anxiety, and then I guess situational depression, depending on what was going on. But after this, I think my anxiety, like after I had my son, my anxiety just turned into something else because now you have a kid and you're responsible for this kid. But then my anxiety like just went through the roof, and my depression, like Vicky, like there were so many days where I felt so bad about myself, and I thought about like I honestly thought, and I can say it's like, if I didn't have my son, I don't know that I would be here right now, because that heartbreak was too much for me to handle. It was too much, and I was at that point where it was like honestly, if my son wasn't here, I don't know. And for me also, I was still in the Army when I had my miscarriage, but I got out of the Army in May, and then in April I had my miscarriage, and 2 days after I started my first civilian job, because I didn't even want to think about me having a miscarriage. I wanted to ignore that so bad, and I wanted to push it to the back of my head and think that this wasn't happening. And every excuse that anybody can give you, or any comfort that people can give you, like, well, at least the baby wasn't so far along, or at least you didn't get to, find out the gender. You can't put a gender to the baby. Like every ignorant comment I think I've heard, but like it just doesn't matter. Like, that baby was real, that baby was mine, and that pain is still real right now. And I don't know, have you guys ever like heard any of those not excuses, those comfort?
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. Oh my God.
That hurts me so bad, because to me, it was meant to be. To me, that kills me the most. It wasn't meant to be. Yeah. Like, no matter what. So, I mean, if it wasn't meant to be, why did God put it in me? And that's where the phrase comes from. God's not going to put anything in your way that you can't overcome. But why did you do it to me? So that like hurts me like to my core. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, no, yeah, you're right. It wasn't meant to be. You kind of have to brush it off, because no one is ever going to understand how the pain that you felt. No, like as soon as you take that pregnancy test and it comes out positive, you're so excited, no matter what. Like you're ecstatic, you're happy, you're over the moon. Having 3, it's kind of like, I've read up on it, of course. After my first one, I went in to see the heartbeat. They did the sonogram. They found no baby. They told me, okay. The second time I got pregnant, okay, yes, I'm happy. I didn't tell anybody. I kept it. It was like me and the dad, and we were so excited. And then, they say like when you have a miscarriage, your symptoms stop, and my boobs hurt. So it'd be like throughout the day, I'm like, they still hurt. I'm still good. 10 minutes later, oh, they still hurt. I'm still good. And it's kind of like people probably thought I looked crazy because I'm over here touching my boobs, and it's like, no one's ever going to understand it. Like, I don't think that anybody really understand the pain that really comes with it all, and like the backflash is it's just so painful. And I don't think anyone's ever going to understand the pain. I don't even understand the pain. And I went through it 3 times. I can't categorize it. It's just hard. I don't know.
And for me, it's like triggers that just randomly happen. Or like Stefania, like you said, my son will be like, Mommy, when are we going to have a baby, Mom? And, like this last month, he's been super about babies and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, stop. Like, you're hurting my feelings and you don't even know this. Like,
he doesn't even know.
Yeah. I mean, all he wants is a brother. He just wants a sister. He just wants somebody to play with. And I can't. And he's like, Mommy, you're pregnant. Mommy, you're pregnant. And I'm like, like I wish, like I can't. He's 4, so you're not going to be like, okay, let's break it down. But it's hard to hear it from your kid too. Like, you can't give them something that they want so bad, and you want it to, but you can't.
I feel like that pain never goes away.
Yeah,
it never goes away. It's always there, and no matter the smile that you put on your face, in the back of your head, it's just always going to be there. And I think a lot of people don't understand that aspect of it.
And it's true. It is true. And then it's more painful because, okay, you're seeing like, in my case, I have a 5-year-old, and I would have right now, what, an almost 4-year-old, three going on 4. Y a veces, o sea, it's kind of like, te pones a pensar, like, ¿qué sería de mi hija ahorita? Like, ¿cómo, you know?
How would it be?
Pareciera, sí, like, tendría mi carácter, tendría el carácter de mi esposo. O sea, ¿cómo sería ella físicamente? Like, you always go back to think of those things. And it's just, you know, se va uno, you know, again, to me, the what if, or how would, you know, what if I would have done this differently? Or, you know, and it's just guilt. Like, sometimes for me,
it is guilt.
It's me. Like, o sea, me entra bastante culpabilidad. O sea, you know, like, me as a woman, like, ¿qué hice mal? Like, you know, or, you know, if I had already, you know, if I was, because I was on, you know, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have Raynaud's disease, which is, nothing of this is contagious, you know, nothing. But because they just hear disease or something. No, and so my pregnancies were both high risk. So of course I was seeing my, you know, my regular OB-GYN plus the people from Driscoll. But you see, también a veces, o sea, you know, I probably shouldn't be saying this, you know, pero también a veces como que me entra como que no es, o sea, sí, un poco de coraje, like, because I'm like, o sea, si estaban viendo la situación, or if they saw something, you know, maybe on the previous appointment, ¿por qué no hicieron algo para poder ayudarme más? You know, or maybe, ¿sabes qué, Stefania, you need to do this, or you need to, you know, we're seeing something, or something's not, you know, maybe you need bed rest or something. Like, no, nada, o sea, nunca, en ningún momento on the appointments that I had, did they ever say something or mention something? Y eso también a veces como que me pone a pensar, like, you know, or me in my case, like, okay, well, maybe what if the medication that I was taking, you know, had to do, or something, just something, you know, or, y eso sí, like, it just really gets to me, like, and I up to now, like, a veces me siento con Angel, with my husband, and I'll be like, hey, like, que si hubiéramos hecho esto diferente, or, you know, no piensas que esto, or, you know, whatever, like, it's just guilt that I hasta ahorita, like, that's what I feel. And that's when I'm like, you know, of course, I don't show it to anybody, you know, yo sola, like, I can be in the shower, or I can be driving home from work, and you know, especially, you know, en las fechas cuando, you know, ya viene que, you know, ya cumplió otro mes mi niña de haber fallecido, you know, it's, and like I said, it's harder even for us because it's one day after our wedding anniversary. So it's,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I've said it multiple times. You guys are, I don't think I could be sitting here talking about what y'all are talking about, to be honest with you. I think I would probably be, I mean, look, just think about it makes me want to cry. It's, I can't fathom the thought of having a child. Okay, so this is my perspective. Okay, I remember growing up in a Christian household. You know, you were told, well, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna have kids, so on, so on, and so on, right? And from a kid, from when I can remember being a kid, I always thought to myself, that is the weirdest thing, like, that a baby grows in your stomach, you know? So from the mentality of a kid, to me, I told myself, I don't think I want to do that. And, like, that's just weird to me, you know? And now, thinking about it, I feel like selfish in comparison to you all. I mean, I don't know if I could or couldn't have kids. I mean, it's never been an option, but I feel like the fact that I chose or told myself that I wouldn't, it makes me feel like I am this selfish
No,
person.
you're not.
No.
I mean, no, of course I'm not. I mean,
And I think
it's
that's also like important for people to understand. Like, there's
yeah,
so many different women in this world, so many different paths. Some like all of us right here are connected because of this horrible thing, but we're so different, and we're three different women who lived through this experience and who is living their life, you know, a completely different way, just like you, Ruth. And I think it's important for people to understand, like, I think there's a like a meme or a quote, I don't know what it is, but it's like
To each its own.
the sun and the moon shine, both shine, you know, but it's not your time to shine yet. Like, it's not for you to feel bad because you made the decision that you don't want to have babies. Like, it's not, like, I don't think people should feel bad or feel that guilt of, damn, well, I could have kids, but I'm not. And these people want to have kids, but they can't. You know, it's like we each live our lives, and we each have to learn to, I guess, live with those obstacles that come with being us and being in our bodies.
oh, I don't know. Y'all are, again, the bravest. I could not, I could not. It's just, it's the craziest thing. I don't know, Stefania, if you mentioned if any of this has affected you other than physically, and of course going with, you know, dealing with it happening or you having to birth your baby after your anniversary, but have you had any additional issues with it being like a mental health issue, or have you said this is the first time you've actually talked about it like this, right? You've never really.
Not every, just like close. I want to say my coworkers, of course, you know, the people that I work with, they know, because the first time it happened, the first time it happened, I was at work. And then they already kind of knew, like, you know, as far as, you know, my pregnancies, that they were high risk and everything. My family, close family knows, because not everybody knows, you know, friends, you know, not everybody knows. Like I said, they'll see me on Facebook, they'll see me on social media, and I'm like, you know, one happy, you know, but deep down, you know, we each have our own, you know, mentally, yes, because voy a lo mismo. Veo todo, o sea, especialmente ahorita con, you know, social media. You see, you know, pregnancy announcements, gender reveals, this, that, you know, and it's kind of like you want to picture yourself like that, you know. Pero,
Right.
but it's something that me, it's like, o sea, me lo imagino, pero a la vez it's like, a lo mejor nunca va a volver a suceder, you know. I'm not ever going to be able to do that. Like, I'm never going to be able to experience, you know, or even just overall, like, pregnancy, you know, having a you know,
Pregnancy.
yes, a full-term pregnancy. That's, you know, my thing. Physically, sí, o sea, va los dos, mentally, physically, you know, emotionally, todo. It's there's times where, digo, I can be sitting down with my husband, and we're like, okay, well, you know what, let's, you know, remove your IUD. I have an IUD. After I had my second one, I decided, you know, like, you know, it was just too much, because if I were, o sea, supongamos que saliera otra vez embarazada y que otra vez, no, I think I don't, you know, and we'll be like, oh, you know what, remove your IUD and let's try again. And if it, you know, me encanta la idea, you know, like, I get like, you know, like, yes, like, but then again, it's like, no, like, you know, cálmate, you know, no, like, your body, you just don't know how the way it's going to react. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. Pueden ser, sí, o sea, you can go through the first, second, third, fourth, fifth month, but once you get to that, in my case, ya llegando al 6th month, which is already, then I feel like it's just gonna, like, I'm just gonna be like, okay, you know, ¿qué va a pasar? Like, what, you know, I just don't want to go, like, And we've thought about,
Physically, you could see what it does to you physically también, porque ahorita just talking about it, you're like, once I get to 6 months and you're like it like knocks your wind out, because the thought of that again.
see, like it's not easy. Like it's me lo imagino, but knowing the reality, like, you know, like just going, you know, the moment, it's just we've talked about, you know, adoption, we've talked about surrogacy, or I think that's how you mention it. That's how you say it. Pero, and you know, we've kind of looked into it, we've talked to our doctor about it, pero no, o sea, no quiero, pero no, o sea, a la vez no quiero, porque quiero yo, like me as a, you know, as a woman, me, you know, yo quiero experimentar lo que es tener un embarazo de 9 meses.
Yeah.
Pero no sé si voy a poder hacerlo, you know, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen.
Vicky, if you could tell something to a woman right now, to any women, to the women that are going through a miscarriage right now, what would you say?
I don't even know, because it doesn't get easier. You know, honestly, I would probably tell them to probably talk about it. No matter like how dull the conversation gets, to talk about it. Because I don't talk about it. I think that I keep it to myself, and it's kind of something that I have it's always in the back burner in my head. So never talking about it, I think that's what messes me up. So I would say talk about it. Really, like, reach out to somebody who knows, or who will actually like sit down and talk to you and like listen to you, even if you cry about the same thing over and over again. Like, talk about it and don't hold anything back.
What about you, Stefania? What would you tell?
I think the same thing. I mean, as Vicky mentioned, I mean, yo creo que like just keeping it to yourself does take a toll on you. Like, it does. If there's anybody, a family, you know, a relative, your mom, your dad, anybody that's willing to hear you out, do it. You know, of course, you know, como yo, o sea, me and my husband, like, you know, he's my go-to person, you know. But yeah, just, you know, cry it out. You know, like she said, it's never gonna get easier. It's not something that you're gonna de la noche a la mañana, boom, yeah, you know, no. Al contrario, it's something, y más, o sea, like you, like me and, o sea, Myra, like we say, because we have our children, we have, you know, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, you know, that they constantly remind you, you know, so it's just it's, I don't know, it's just don't, you know, just say it out, you know, just talk about it. No, just don't keep anything, cry it out, because that helps a lot, you know. Te ayuda como persona, te ayuda como ser humano. So, I mean,
I would say that you're not alone. Just in this podcast, we have 3 women with the same connection, but different experiences. Like, you're not alone. There's people out here who are willing to listen. And if they're not, then now you have us that can listen. Don't feel like you can keep it bottled inside. And, you know, it doesn't get easier. But when that grief does come, take that time to yourself, and take that time to, if you want to scream, scream. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to cuss it all out. Like, do whatever that makes you better, to make you feel better, because even though the grief is not permanent, like at the fullest that you're feeling it at that moment, it's gonna still be there. And, you know, just talking it out and knowing that there's somebody out there to listen to you, I think that's what helps me too. Knowing that now I have a connection, like, even though Stefania and Noni, since we were little, but knowing that I have this connection, some kind of like a sisterhood in a way, that we've all 3 experienced this, and we can be there for each other in some level, I think that gives me comfort and, you know, in making this horrible situation even a little bit better. And I also wanted to bring up that there's a book that can help you guys talk to your children about it. And it's called Mommy Says I Have a Brother. And they also sell Sister too, Stefania, if you want to. So I saw it, and I was just gonna read you guys. I'm gonna try to read just 2 pages, but I don't know if I can. Okay, so it says, Mommy says you stay close by, you watch me as I grow. In my heart, you're always there, that for sure, I know. Mommy says you were brave and strong, just like Superman. She talks about you all the time. She might be your biggest fan. And I'll let you guys read it all, but this book really has allowed me to talk to my son about our baby. My baby's name was Dallas. And now, you know, my son, he asked me, now he has a name to put on a reminder, but he's like, Mommy, and how old was Dallas gonna be? And where's Dallas? And when can we see Dallas? And are we gonna have another baby? And I'm like, in a way, it's that painful reminder, but also it's being able to talk to my son and to bring up my baby, you know, and to have, I don't know if next year will be the year where I get put up a stocking for my baby, because this year I couldn't do it, or last year I couldn't do it, but it's gonna be a slow recovery in a way to help us heal and to get to a place where we can openly talk about our babies. And I think it's a start to actually have conversations out loud and in public, to where people get out of that uncomfortable zone that they're in when it comes to miscarriages or child loss.
Right.
We want to say, like, thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Stefania, like, for being so vulnerable in talking about this. And, you know, we're here. And like I said, we're all connected now. Vicky, even if you don't want to, I'm going to come meet you and I'm going to hug you and I'm going to make you talk to me.
I'm going to bring her with us next time we go to San Antonio.
Yeah. But, you know,
I'm a huge loner. Ruth, am I a loner?
She's a loner.
Yeah, I
well, now you
rather
got us.
suffer alone than with other people, for
You
sure.
got us, and you're stuck with us. And if y'all ever need anything, you already know we're just a message away or a phone call away. Whatever you guys need, we're here. And thank you guys so much for joining us. And we will be linking all of the resources and people that you can reach out to and different locations there in the Valley that can help you guys with, you know, whatever you're going through specifically with this. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you.